4,000 years ago, Egyptian scribe Amenah put a reed pen to papyrus and recorded one of the earliest survival epics in human history. But the story Amenah wrote doesn't start with a shipwreck. It begins on the docks of Egypt with a terrified ship's master. His business venture in foreign lands has failed, and he is paralyzed by the certainty that the pharaoh will punish him. Seeing his master's dread, a smart young attendant steps in. He tries to soothe the older man by telling him a story of his own past, arguing that if you choose your words carefully, your eloquence alone can save your life. This opening exchange sets up a tension that runs through the entire text. We are watching a battle between paralyzing despair in the face of absolute authority and the deeply human instinct to find hope through storytelling. The attendant plunges us into his memory. He describes a highly optimistic departure onto what he calls the Great Green Sea, sailing alongside 120 of Egypt's fiercest, most elite sailors. As they approach land, a sudden storm erupts. Howling winds whip the ocean into monstrous waves, and the massive force of the water violently splits the ship in two. In the resulting chaos, the casualty rate is absolute. Every single one of those 120 highly trained men drowns. The attendant alone manages to grab a cedar plank. He floats at the mercy of the water until a wave washes his exhausted body onto an unknown, desolate beach. The transition is total. The protection of a 120-man naval force has evaporated, leaving the sailor to face the absolute silence of the shoreline entirely alone. After lying in the bushes for 3 days, waiting for death, the sailor finally opens his eyes to realize he isn't stranded on a barren rock. He is surrounded by a vibrant, living landscape. The island provides an immense, almost impossible abundance of food. He finds endless supplies of figs, grapes, wild berries, grain, and a massive variety of fish and birds. He immediately gets to work. After satisfying his deep hunger, he digs a pit, sparks a fire, and makes a burnt offering to thank the gods for his unlikely survival. This flawless, convenient perfection feels unnatural compared to the chaos of the storm. It suggests the sailor has drifted past the known world and into a landscape governed by different forces. His quiet peace is violently interrupted. A crashing sound echoes across the land. The earth begins to shake, and massive jungle trees splinter apart as a massive entity slithers toward him. The island's master reveals himself as a temple-sized serpent, glittering in blue lapis and gold, with a man's face and a towering beard. He demands to know who brought him there, warning the mortal that a slow answer will extinguish his life like a candle. Terrified and stunned, the sailor lies still with his mouth full of sand. Knowing his life depends entirely on his words, he forces himself to speak, using his hard-won eloquence to recount the tragic loss of his ship and crew. Then comes a stunning reversal. The terrifying creature doesn't devour him. The sailor's tragic words completely soothe the serpent's anger. He smiles gently and prophesies that in 4 months, a ship will arrive to take the sailor safely home. The serpent then shares his own harrowing tragedy. He reveals that he once lived on this island with 75 members of his family. But one night, a star fell from heaven, burning them all to ash and leaving the serpent utterly alone. The story moves from physical peril to an unexpected commonality. Both the trembling human and the golden god are now defined by the same weight of outliving everyone they knew. The serpent's prophecy holds true. Exactly 4 months later, the sailor climbs a tall tree and spots a ship on the horizon, coming to rescue him. In a rush of gratitude, the sailor promises to send ships full of extravagant incense to honor his host. But the creature just laughs. He reveals that he is the Prince of Punt, a land already overflowing with the richest perfumes in the world. Before parting ways, the serpent leaves him a haunting warning. Once the sailor departs, the island will sink beneath the sea, never to exist again. The sailor travels back north. 2 months later, he walks into the Egyptian court, presents the pharaoh with the exotic gifts the serpent gave him, and is rewarded with a high position. Within the context of the attendant's memory, his philosophy worked. His endurance and his careful eloquence secured his survival and his status. We then snap back to the present day, standing on the docks. The attendant finishes his grand tale, fully expecting his despairing master to be inspired by this story of survival, but the master rejects it completely. Cold and terrified, he tells the attendant to save his smart words. He recites a bitter proverb: "Who gives water to a goose in the morning when it is due to be slaughtered in the afternoon?" This final exchange leaves the listener between two conflicting human states: the attendant's mythical hope versus the master's grounded, inescapable conviction